And I guess with the offseason too, Amber mentioned in her exit interview that the number one priority was to land Kelsey in free agency again. Just how important was she to your team this year? How important has she been to the Fever? Obviously, the 8 years she's been with the franchise, and how badly do you want to keep her around?
I mean, yeah, she was the number one priority a year ago, and she's the number one priority this year.
All right, let's talk about it. Because Stephanie White just said the quiet part out loud. In her latest interview, she made it crystal clear that Kelsey Mitchell is her top priority. Not Caitlin Clark, the generational player who broke nearly every record imaginable. Not the player who sold out arenas coast to coast and single-handedly revived the Fever's national relevance. No, the focus is on Kelsey. And before anyone twists this, let's be fair. Kelsey Mitchell is an elite talent, a veteran who's earned her respect. But there's a massive difference between retaining a star and building your entire franchise around one. One makes you competitive. The other defines whether you're chasing a championship or clinging to playoff scraps. And what's shocking isn't just what White said, it's how confidently she said it, like the decision was sealed before Caitlin's ankle ever hit the floor. Let us know down in the comments below what you think of Coach White's statement.
I have not lost sight of the fact that when Caitlin Clark got injured, Stephanie White called it a, quote, blessing in disguise. I've also said that I believe if you gave Stephanie White truth serum, she would actually tell you she believes this team was better without Caitlin Clark. I believe that. And I felt that way for quite some time. I believe that she believes that Kelsey Mitchell is the superstar on this team.
And then came that line, a blessing in disguise. When your coach calls your superstar's injury that, it stops being coach speak and starts sounding like betrayal. Because let's look at the numbers. Kelsey Mitchell averaged 19.2 points this season. Solid, no question. But Caitlin Clark? She was right there a season ago, averaging 19 points as well, plus 8.4 assists, most in the league, and nearly 6 rebounds per game. The kicker? She did it while reinventing how defenses guard the Fever. One elevates everyone around her. The other is just elite at creating her own shot. Both valuable, sure, but only one is generational, and we all know which one that is. Here's where it gets even more ironic. After the Olympic break a season ago, when Caitlin was finally unleashed as the primary playmaker, Kelsey Mitchell's numbers improved. She scored more in Caitlin's offense than she did this year under Stephanie White's so-called motion system. Let that sink in. The offense that revolved around Caitlin made everyone better. But instead of recognizing that, White's acting like the future of the franchise is a one-woman show, and it's not Caitlin Clark's.
Ultimately, what Chrissy Sides ended up running was Caitlin's system. Now, this year, you know, the second half of the season, it was the whatever system, motion offense system. But that system did not work very well for Kelsey. Now, Kelsey balled out, but she's going to ball out regardless. You know what I'm saying? And she's kind of a phenomenal player. But
now let's get into this interview. You can hear the polish in every word. When White says, we're going to continue to build around her, she doesn't say them. Not both stars, not our core, but her. Singular. It's the kind of line that tells you everything you need to know before the official press release ever drops. It's corporate language disguised as basketball strategy, the kind of phrase that means the decision's already been made. It's like one of those boardroom updates where the boss thanks everyone for their hard work right before announcing who's getting replaced. But here's where the logic falls apart. White keeps pointing to loyalty, saying Kelsey's earned it after years of losing seasons, chaos, and rebuilding. And yes, loyalty is admirable. But loyalty doesn't win championships, generational talent does. The Warriors didn't build around their longest tenured role player, they built around Steph Curry. Cleveland didn't win by sticking to tenure, they went all in on LeBron James. That's how you build dynasties. Loyalty gives you stability, talent gives you banners.
Now, Kelsey Mitchell is a very important piece. She's part of the big three. But there's only one Jordan-like generational talent on this team, and it's Caitlin Clark. The fact is, Kelsey Mitchell, Leah Boston, they were around before Caitlin showed up. And they got the #1 overall pick to get Caitlin Clark.
And that's what makes this move feel like a betrayal. Not just to Caitlin Clark, but to the Fever's fans who finally believed this team was turning a corner. It's one thing to have internal disagreements. It's another to publicly sideline the player who carried your franchise into the national conversation. And it's not just fans calling this out. Analysts, insiders, even former players are seeing the same cracks forming. When that many basketball minds start aligning, it's not conspiracy, it's consensus. The reality? There's a ceiling when Kelsey Mitchell is your first option. That's not an insult. That's basketball truth. You can beat the Atlanta Dream that way, maybe even squeak past a tired Aces team. But when you face juggernauts like the Minnesota Lynx or a full-strength New York Liberty, that ceiling hits hard. And the worst part? Stephanie White knows this. She's been around the game too long not to. She understands player archetypes, spacing, and offensive balance. So if she's choosing to center the franchise around someone who's not her generational point guard, it's not about strategy, it's about politics. Something else is driving this, and that's what makes it so frustrating.
The questions they ask is by far not good enough for me. I am sorry. I mean, you got Stephanie White right there. Ask these hardcore questions. What was really wrong with Caitlin Clark? The reason why she did not come back from that ankle injury. We never seen her in a boot. A groin injury is pretty much pulled muscle. Ask those tough questions. Ask her, do you believe had Caitlin Clark returned, y'all could have had a chance to go far? Now, granted, she might not have answered that one, but it wouldn't have hurt to ask.
And that brings us to the real elephant in the room, the injury narrative. Because when you start connecting the dots, things stop adding up. What actually happened with Caitlin Clark's so-called ankle injury? Why wasn't there ever a boot? Why did a groin issue suddenly become an ankle problem overnight? It feels less like medical updates and more like damage control. Fans aren't stupid. They notice when timelines shift and explanations contradict each other. That's not miscommunication. That's organizational dysfunction. And here's the red flag. Transparency is supposed to be non-negotiable in professional sports. When teams go silent, it's because they're hiding something, whether it's tension in the locker room, disagreements in the front office, or something deeper. Because if Caitlin was healthy enough to return, and the team was still holding her out, that's not protection. That's control. Contrast this with how other franchises handle their stars. When Breanna Stewart went down, the Liberty gave updates at every step. When Asia Wilson had minor health issues, Vegas was open about it. Even Elena Del Don's chronic struggles were handled with transparency. But Indiana? Silence. No details. No honesty. Just confusing PR doublespeak that left fans, and frankly, Caitlin herself, hung out to dry.
I also believe part of Kelsey Mitchell's performance this year was the fact that Caitlin wasn't there to take some of those shots. The fact is, Kelsey Mitchell took some shots that would have been Caitlin's. Let's just be real. And because of that extra volume and the fact that she had to be the main offensive threat, it also caused it caused an explosion in her stats.
And the media barely challenged it. No tough questions, no pushback when White's statements didn't make sense. That interview was so sanitized, it might as well have been pre-approved by the Fever's PR department. Less than 1,000 views because fans saw through it instantly. They know when something smells corporate instead of authentic. This isn't just a missed communication opportunity, it's a betrayal of trust. Because when your franchise cornerstone gets hurt, fans deserve the truth. Caitlin deserves the truth. Instead, she got brushed aside for organizational messaging. And the most frustrating part? She's the one who built this team's relevance, who brought the fans back, who made Indiana basketball matter again. Stephanie White may think she's steering the ship, but right now, it looks like she's sinking it. Because building around loyalty instead of greatness doesn't just cost you games, it costs you belief. And if this franchise loses Caitlin's belief, they'll lose the one thing they can't replace, the future.
I like Kelsey Mitchell. I'm not trying to dog out Kelsey Mitchell, but she's the clear number 2 option on this team. All right? And everything should run through Caitlin Clark.
Let's break down what really happened when Caitlin Clark went down, because this is where the mask finally slips. The second Caitlin was out, Kelsey Mitchell's usage rate exploded. Every possession that used to flow through Caitlin, every fast break, every late game set, every drawn-up play, suddenly belonged to Kelsey. And to her credit, she delivered. She put up career numbers, hit clutch shots, and looked every bit like an all-star. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody in the Fever organization wants to admit. Sometimes players look better when the generational star isn't on the floor. Not because they've magically improved overnight, but because the offense is artificially inflated to run through them. It's like when LeBron James gets hurt and suddenly the second option's stats shoot up. Sure, they get more shots, more highlights, more attention. But the team, it doesn't get better. It just survives. That's the illusion happening in Indiana right now. Kelsey Mitchell is thriving in Caitlin's absence, but thriving inside a system that's designed around volume, not victory. She's a phenomenal player, but there's a difference between being a scorer and being a cornerstone. To put it bluntly, Kelsey Mitchell is Scottie Pippen, a top-tier, two-way player, essential to winning, but not the foundation of a championship team. And before anyone takes that as shade, let's remember, Scottie's a top 50 player of all time. But when Michael Jordan retired the first time, what happened? That same Bulls roster went from dynasty to first-round exit. Same players, same coaching staff, different focal point. That's exactly what's happening here. You can build with Kelsey Mitchell. You cannot build around her.
She has decided that she's building around Kelsey Mitchell. And to build around Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark is not who you need to build around Kelsey Mitchell. You need to build around Kelsey Mitchell. You have to build an Allen Iverson type Sixers team. You can have, in my opinion, you should trade Aaliyah as well. In my opinion, you should trade. I don't think Aaliyah is the right center to have beside Kelsey Mitchell. I think you should trade Kate. You should trade Kate and you should trade Aaliyah.
And Stephanie White knows this. She's a basketball lifer. She's studied systems her whole career. If she were truly building around Kelsey, she'd need an entirely different roster, one that hides her limitations instead of exposing them. You'd need defensive specialists everywhere, a pass-first point guard who doesn't need the ball, a rim protector who never demands touches, and 3-and-D wings who live behind the arc. Basically, you'd have to recreate the 2001 Allen Iverson Sixers, a team that made the finals once, ran out of gas, and never got back. That's not a model for sustainable success. That's a blueprint for one-and-done playoff appearances. Here's the painful irony. The Indiana Fever already have the skeleton of a championship team. They just refuse to see it. Caitlin Clark as your floor general and offensive architect. Kelsey Mitchell as your off-ball assassin. Aaliyah Boston as your low-post anchor and defensive wall. That's your modern big three. That's a 21st century offense built for pace, space, and chaos. The kind that nobody in the league can guard. And we saw it last season. Once Christy Sides finally handed Caitlin the keys post-Olympics, the Fever looked electric. Kelsey's scoring didn't dip, it got more efficient. Aaliyah's rebounding and scoring both improved because Caitlin was creating better looks. The entire team flowed like a symphony. Then Stephanie White walked in, ripped up the sheet music, and replaced it with motion offense that supposedly gives everyone touches but in practice gives no one identity.
How important was she to your team this year? How important has she been to the Fever? Obviously, the 8 years she's been with the franchise, and how badly do you want to keep her around?
I mean, yeah, she was the number one priority a year ago, and she's the number one priority this year. She's been so important. And, I said this last year, Kelsey deserves to go through this stage of her Indiana Fever career. She's been through sort of the worst of the worst, for lack of a better term.
So now, instead of doubling down on the star who changed the trajectory of the franchise, White publicly declares that Kelsey is the number one priority. Not Caitlin Clark, not the player who shattered 60-plus records, not the player who sold out road arenas and reignited national interest in the WNBA. No, it's the 8-year veteran who, for most of those 8 years, couldn't drag Indiana out of the lottery. To be clear, this isn't about tearing Kelsey down. It's about what kind of organization you want to be. Are you loyal or are you legendary? Do you reward tenure or do you chase greatness? Because history doesn't remember who stayed the longest. It remembers who changed the game. The Lakers didn't build around Derek Fisher because he'd been there the longest. They built around Kobe Bryant. The Warriors didn't center their offense around Draymond Green out of loyalty. They built around Steph Curry because he was transcendent. The Indiana Fever are confusing sentimentality with strategy, and it's the kind of mistake that kills dynasties before they start. And here's where things get really messy. Kelsey Mitchell is a free agent. She has leverage. She can demand the bag, and she knows it. Caitlin, on the other hand, is still on her rookie deal for 2 more years. She can't negotiate, she can't demand a trade, she can't even push back publicly without looking like the problem. So, from a negotiation standpoint, Stephanie White's comments make tactical sense. Keep your free agent happy. But from a basketball standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, it's a disaster. Because by publicly prioritizing Kelsey over Caitlin, you're sending a message loud and clear: politics over performance.
I'm telling you right now, I believe Stephanie White believes Kelsey Mitchell's the best player on this team. That's on a team that's got Caitlin Clark on the team, on the roster.
Instead, we're watching the Fever fall into the same echo chamber that ruins every promising team. The coach praises the veteran. The front office echoes it. The PR team pumps out talking points about balance and team-first mentality. Meanwhile, nobody's asking the hard questions. Is this offense really working? Are we maximizing our best player? Are we actually building toward a championship or just protecting egos? Let's be honest, the track record speaks for itself. Kelsey Mitchell has been Indiana's leading scorer for years. And what did it get them? Seasons with 5 wins. Endless rebuilding cycles, coaching turnovers. The Fever were a punchline. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and overnight, they became the hottest ticket in women's basketball. Road games sold out. Jerseys vanished from shelves. ESPN moved their games to primetime. One player, one generational talent did that. And instead of building the future around her, the organization's effectively saying, "Thanks for saving us, now go stand in the corner." It's the kind of decision that will haunt them for years. Kelsey will get her max deal, she's earned it. But that money comes with expectations. She's now the franchise player. And when the Fever hit that inevitable ceiling, a second-round playoff exit, maybe a conference finals appearance at best, the questions will start pouring in. Why isn't Caitlin Clark running the offense more? Why does the system feel like it's holding her back? Why prioritize a veteran scorer over a once-in-a-generation talent? And by then, it'll be too late.
I tell her every day, like, I love being her coach, and I want to continue to be her coach for as long as she'll be a member of the Indiana Fever. And yes, she is absolutely the #1 priority.
Because Caitlin Clark only has 2 years left on her deal. And if she spends those years trapped in a system that sidelines her greatness, watching a coach publicly downplay her role, what reason would she have to stay? She could walk into any locker room in America, New York, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and instantly make them contenders. If Indiana keeps choosing politics over potential, they're not just risking a few losses. They're risking the future of the franchise. And here's the worst part. It's not even unique. The WNBA has a chronic problem with player evaluation and organizational blindness. Teams misjudge value, cling to loyalty, and fail to recognize the superstars right in front of them. The Fever are just the latest example of a small market team mistaking comfort for vision. And when Caitlin's contract is up, every major franchise in the league will be lining up with open arms. The Liberty, with their massive market and championship infrastructure. The Aces, with their proven culture of winning. The Sparks, with the glitz of LA and crossover exposure. They'll all be ready. And Indiana? They'll be left behind, clutching their motion offense, wondering how they managed to lose the most marketable, transformative player women's basketball has seen in decades. And when that day comes, the headlines will all say the same thing. The Fever betrayed Caitlin Clark. Because they didn't just mishandle a player, they mishandled a generational opportunity. They chose tenure over transcendence, comfort over courage, loyalty over legacy, and in sports, that's the one mistake you never recover from. Let us know down in the comments below what you think of Coach White's statement. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out. Click the video on the screen and we'll see you in the next one.